Let's get one thing very clear. If you want to add a new wedge to your golf bag, you only need to spend £50. Yeah, they're not going to like this one. And I can guarantee you spending £150 on a wedge will not make your wedge game 5 shots better. Guys, how you doing? Welcome back to a brand new video. Simon down here at Sanford Springs Golf Club, and I'm going to go through my top 5 list of £50 wedges. That will be excluding TaylorMade, Callaway and Titleist, and they're the 3 big bad boys. There's no question about it. When it comes down to wedges, they're pretty much what you think about in terms of tour, premium, give you the most, let's say, most spin, and that's all anyone ever talks about when it comes to wedges, how much spin that is being applied. And what makes me laugh is the measures that these companies go through, the processes they go through to make these the best wedges when it comes to spin turf interaction, and the amount of money they put towards it. Don't get me wrong, they spend millions of pounds on their wedge technology. But then Dave goes and buys a second-hand Vokey for £110, even though it's had 10,000 shots off a range, and the wedges and the grooves are burnt out, and the only reason he's buying it is because it has SM8 on the back of it. Today's video, I'm going to go through 5 wedges for 5 different categories of players that will have decent grooves, because you're spending £50 on them, and they're modern enough that you still feel like you got the technology and the advantage of everything that's been discovered over the last couple of years. So if you feel like you want to put a new wedge in the bag, this is the video for you. On a side note, I do feel I have to venture in and give my opinion. If I was to get a brand new wedge, which one would I go down the route of? And personally, I would go with Titleist, only because I feel like the fitting experience when it comes to Titleist is better than the other 2. Mac Daddy, the mill grind wedges from TaylorMade, Titleist, you put them all in a robot, all on a machine, all off the turf, and they all go spin as much as the other, because all wedges are so limited by the rules that they are governed by. I just personally feel like with the grinds and the lofts and the shafts and everything else when it comes to Titleist, if you're going to spend £150 on one wedge, that's where I'll go down the route of. However, I'm trying to get you guys to spend 450 bags on your total bag and not just 3 wedges. So that's why, for you guys that decided in the last year or 2, this is probably a better option for you. Now, quick disclaimer before I go any further in my top 5 list: technique overrules any other aspect of this game when it comes to wedges. Anyone can putt the ball. Anyone can hit a drive up in the air depending on the direction. But when it comes to wedges, the technique is crucial. You could outweigh any wedge on the market with maybe 1 lesson and 100 hours of wedge practice off the grass onto a green. Forget £50, forget £150. Technique is king, and unless you've practiced your wedge game for over 300 hours, I highly advise not getting fitted for a single wedge. So up first is my personal favourite in the top 1 spot, and that's going to be Cleveland. Now, Cleveland do make great irons. I see it on my comment sections. You guys are like, God, I love their putters and I love their irons, are such great value, and their woods. Yes, they are. However, Cleveland is known for their wedges. Roger Cleveland actually sold the company. It's probably about 5-6 years ago now, and then started designing wedges for Callaway. So you know the guy knows his stuff. Now, he doesn't have any part with Cleveland now. It's owned completely differently, but the same ethos is there, the same style is there, and I would very much rate this as an intermediate to advanced option. The reason being is it hasn't really got that much sold to the bottom of it, so you could really much compare it to like a Vokey wedge if you wanted to. The reason I love this wedge is because they look great aesthetically. They're going to give you the performance that you want from them, and because they don't retail that high, you're going to find a great condition one with very decent grooves that you can still get some contact with for around £50. Now, you can go RTX4 at a push, do some research, get some digging, find some strange auctions, or RTX3 just as good. But again, wedge grooves are the important factor here. Don't buy a £40 wedge that's burnt out because it's been hit 10,000 times on the range. Up next is for you beginners, and we're going to go big brand here. One that you're very familiar with, one that's done incredibly well in the second-hand market through this entire pandemic, and it is Ping. But when it comes to wedges, they just don't get the love. Obviously the 3.0 is out at the moment, and I want you to have a look at the Ping Glide 2.0. And the reason being is that these things, quite similar to the G series, are quite chunky. They've made wedges that will blend nicely into their own series. The wedges and the irons, I should say, that they sell the most of. There's no point having a big chunky iron with ultra forgiveness and then create a blade as a wedge to match with it. It just doesn't work. And for you beginners that are learning and potentially play in a country like England where it's quite wet and soft, you need bounce. You need a big grind, you need a big sole to play with. And don't think because you're getting a chunky wedge you're not going to get the spin. That's just not the case. It's about the technique and confidence. Wedges is all about confidence, and if you stop fatting your chips and actually starting getting a bit of check on them, your confidence is going to grow and your wedge skill is going to grow with it. That's why for you beginners out there, I really can't see you going past the Ping Glide 2.0. They're not popular, not many people are looking at them, and they're going to tick all the boxes you need to start your wedge game journey and start getting those 300 hours into your game. Now, I know a lot of you want modern. You want brand new, you want stuff that literally came out last week with 50% off, and I can't quite do that, but here's the closest I can get. Very similar to what I said in a previous video on my underrated irons. We're going with Cobra, with the modern day wedge that basically no one wants for whatever reason. And this thing is sexual, don't get me wrong, this thing is a great looking wedge, and the one that I would look at for the intermediate player, potentially more of an advanced player, is the Cobra MIM wedge, metal injection mold. This bad boy is sleek, it looks great, it's going to fit nicely at the bottom of the bag, it hasn't really got much going on the back of it, therefore it'll blend nicely into whatever set that you have. And these things going brand new for like 89, 99 pounds, where they were retailing at 120, 130 last year. So it means for you second-hand fiends, the ones that are scouring eBay and Facebook, you're not going to have much competition when it comes to around the £50 mark for a wedge. And you're going to be getting a lot of wedge for it because it's so brand new. The likelihood of the grooves being worn out is next to none. The grips are going to be in great condition. The shaft's not going to be pitted or whatever it might be. Therefore, for my modern day wedge selection for the intermediate or just general overall, quite similar to the RTX, I'm going to go with the Cobra MIM wedge. Now in the number 4 slot, we normally go a bit out there and we normally push ourselves a bit far wide, and this is a bit of a different one. Now I am going against my word and I'm using a brand that I didn't say I was going to use at the start of this video, and that is Callaway. And I'm not talking Mac Daddy 4 or Mac Daddy 2 or Mac Daddy whatever, because you're going to be spending more money on those than a decent sized or a decent condition wedge of an unnamed brand. But what I do see is 2 manufacturers that make a wedge very different to all the others, and to be perfectly honest, I've never been a fan of this style of wedge. But I am of course talking about the high toe from TaylorMade or the PM grind, the Phil Mickelson grind from Callaway. Now I don't want you to go and get the brand new one, I don't want you to go and get the high toe, because realistically when I look at these wedges, they're basically just for flop shots and bunker play. Very much like Phil Mickelson style golf. You're going to get 0 contact, you're going to get 0 compression from these shots, and all you want is loads of loft and loads of bounce. Therefore, why not just go back to the PM, the original PM U Mac Daddy wedge. These are going for 40, 50 pounds, again because they're basically just using a bunker or just used for flop shots. The grooves are going to be half decent, they're not really going to have much compression or contact with dirt or whatever it might be. Therefore, you're getting just as much wedge for a third of the price of whatever one that they bring out here on out. So if you want to play with that PM grind because it takes your fancy, or you want to have that high toe wedge, I highly suggest for you guys that want to play with your bunker shots, play with your flop shots, start down at the bottom and go for that PM U Mac Daddy wedge. So therefore I have one pick left, and I'm going to make it a bit special. I'm going to make it unique. It's not going to necessarily be an easy one you can find that you'll see tons and tons listed on eBay, but you're just going to have it in your mind, maybe a saved search. I'm going to go with the option Vega. If you've ever seen like Bentley wedges or these obscure, highly expensive Japanese wedges, they're all owned by PGE, and what I found with Vega especially, I actually hit a Vega iron when I was doing my lockdown project, but I've never hit their wedges. £200 these normally retail. Don't know who comes up with that price, I don't know who actually pays that price, but what I do know is that on eBay you can go and get some Vegas that literally just come out brand new, no, not brand new, but in very good condition for around 50. maybe £60, maybe £65. But if you want something unique, and I've never hit the wedges, I couldn't possibly tell you, but as I said at the start of this video, you can give a top 100 golfer in the world a set of Argos wedges and he's still going to hit that flop shot. He's still going to hit that bump and run. He's still going to be able to stop it on a dime. He's still going to be able to put these floaty bunker shots past the flag and spin them back, because he's got the technique, club head speed, angle of attack, centre of strike, you name it. These Vegas are going to be for those flashy ones out there. The ones that want something different, something that not anyone else on the golf course has, and you don't want to spend £150 on a Miura or £200 on Honma or whatever it might be. Therefore, I think Vega is my flashy option. I always like a flashy option in these kind of top 5 lists, as it's something a bit different and something a bit out there that not many people think about. So guys, there's my top 5 list. Honourable mentions, Kirkland wedges. You can get a set brand new from Costco for £150, like never been hit, but then I didn't think it fit in the list. Sure Out Callaway wedge, massive bottom sole to it. If you're struggling to get out of bunkers and you keep going underneath it, Sure Out is a great option, but again, didn't really fit into the list of wedges. Long story short, tons of options out there for you when it comes to wedges, and you don't need to spend £150, and I can guarantee you spending £150 on a wedge will not make your wedge game 5 shots better. If you spend £150 with me on wedge lessons, i.e. we spend 3.5 hours out on the golf course over a period of time, and I haven't taken 5 shots off your wedge game, then you need your money back. Wedges can't do that. I'm going to be brash and say I could. Guys, if you like this video, leave it a like. Subscribe if you're new. Catch you guys later.
Morning Tom, hope you're doing well.
Afternoon mate, well done on the lesson. And evening Alan, not a problem at all. And testing the G30s and the afternoon gents, on my way to the lockup. Go pick up the Miura on.